I guess, is there more to the tape than that? I mean,
Yeah, I'm not releasing the rest of the tape right now. There was a lot of other in the house, including our search of the master bedroom. That comes into play because eventually Courtney spoke in an interview that she did with Rolling Stone, and she mentioned another letter that Kurt had left for her. This was pretty strange because this is the first time it had ever 7 months after Kurt died. I continued working for Courtney for several months after Kurt died. She never told me about another letter. It wasn't in any of the media reports. Now all of a sudden she's talking about another letter. I talked to Courtney shortly after that and with this other letter, and she told me that he had left it under the pillows on the bed in the master bedroom. And of course I disagreed with her because I knew for a fact there and it wasn't there. So, we're kind of jumping around here, and it's difficult to cover such an extensive case in a short period of time. So many items, so many details, so many things to talk about here that it's difficult to do without boring listeners by trying to in just one line at a time.
First of all of this is available on, you have a website. Let's give out the website file number.
Okay, most people know website, what they call URL numbers, are pretty complicated and difficult to read. The best to locate this, first of all, if you are used to searching on the internet, just go to search and type in Tom Grant and Kurt Cobain. And this is the website that's getting the most attention. Was put together by a guy by the name of Chris Carman, and it's getting something like 10,000 hits a month now. If you'll email me at tgrantco@aol.com. That's tgrant@aol.com. I'll cut and paste that website location to you and send it to you through email, and then you can do this and put it up in the search or put it up in the locate and push the button, and it should take you right to it. But on the website, it lists the summer of events, which is in 3 parts, and updates 1 through, I believe we're up to number 6 now. There's an option there, and it takes this investigation one step at a time from the beginning to where we're at right now, and we keep adding updates on a regular basis. That's really the best place to get all the information and to print it out, read it, and if you have any questions, read it again because it'll be answered if you just study the material carefully.
And I'm going to continue giving out your website over the next few shows. I'll continue giving it out at least once every show for at least the next 2 months to our listeners. First of all, let's get First Note, because most people won't even know what that is. What was that all about?
Well, if you recall the reports in the media and the quotes from the police department at the time that Kurt died, they referred to a suicide note. They called it a suicide note. They said it was addressed to... careful study of that note indicates that there's absolutely nothing about suicide in there, nothing about killing himself, nothing about dying. It was not addressed to Francis and Courtney. It was addressed to Kurt's fans. That can be seen plainly by just reading the content. This was a letter written by Kurt to his fans. There was a small footnote to Francis and Courtney. But the entire note, the body of the note, was written to Kurt's fans. After studying this note and putting other information together about Kurt Cobain and the case and what was going on at the time and what was on his mind when this was all developing, we've concluded that this was not a suicide note. It was simply explaining to his fans his decision to quit the music business. He was fed up with the whole thing and he didn't want any part of it anymore. I think another a very valuable piece of evidence to substantiate that was a suicide note is this other letter Kurt left to her. I do believe he left her another letter. Well, before I explain my next move, let me just explain what's been happening since last December. When I first went to Gross Radio Show back in New York and expressed my beliefs about this case, I said then that this is going to be a very long, slow process. I knew what I was up against. As this whole thing was developing and as I was right in the middle of it, I see on the newsstands daily and weekly pictures of cover and words in large letters, suicide and suicide in America. And every major magazine in the country and probably the world had Kurt Cobain's face on the cover and talking about his suicide. So I knew what I was getting into, and I knew that this wasn't going to happen overnight. I mean, there are millions of minds to be changed here before anything is going to go on, and before anybody is going to think seriously opening this investigation. I'm not a media expert, and I'm kind of having to wing this thing when it comes to radio shows, and even not a professional writer. So I've had to learn a lot about how to get this message out, especially when the media is not cooperating because of the suits from Courtney and her attorneys. And what seems like old information to some people from the beginning, as many of your listeners will attest to, this is brand new information for many of them. So some of them for quite a while feel that it's really dragging on, and I've tried to make them aware that, again, like I just said, it may seem like old information, but we've probably only reached 5% of the population of people that even care about this case. So we've got a long ways to go. There will come a point, I believe, where the stop ignoring this. They're going to have to start covering the case more accurately and digging for some of the facts and details of this case. When that happens, of course, the news, more people will be made aware of it, and we'll probably make more progress. It's almost difficult to call this an investigation, because the process I'm going through right now is just a process of getting information in front of people and gaining enough support to pressure open the investigation.
Now, we didn't touch on the role of the Seattle police. Now, basically, I believe you actually went to the police with your theory. How did they respond?
Yeah, for some of those listeners out there who think this is, coming up kind of late now, originally it wasn't late at all. The day the body was found, I was on the phone to the Seattle. Basically, you need to slow down a little bit because there's a lot of really funny stuff going on here. Now, of course, at that point, I didn't know if this was a suicide or not. I knew that whatever happened here, I was highly suspicious of a lot of the inconsistencies and a lot of the activities that were going on Kurt's death, and I felt it needed to be looked into more carefully. That happened the very day that the body was found. Within a week after Kurt died, I had a sit-down meeting with Sergeant Cameron, the homicide investigator that was handling this case. By that, everything from the beginning of this case just bizarre and strange. The conversations I had with Courtney over those first few days, the inconsistencies in all the stories she was telling me, many things that just weren't making sense from the beginning.
Did she ever lie to you?
Well, she lied to me from the first phone call she made, and making me aware of other things that she was doing with the media at the time also. The first day we met with her, she planted a story in API the night before that she was in the hospital and she had OD'd. And she told me the reason she Kurt's attention so that he would show up, that he would come looking for her and think that she was in trouble. I have another theory, of course, after several months of investigation. I think there was another reason for that. But there was just a lot of lying going on, a lot of manipulation, a lot of mistruths. The missing persons report that was filed on Kurt Cobain, it was reported in all the media that was filed by Wendy O'Connor, Kurt's mother. Courtney time that she had filed the report and that she filed it under Wendy O'Connor's name. However, that wasn't reported in the media. It was reported and initiated by Wendy O'Connor that she filed the report. So there was just a lot of lying going on, a lot of playing games, and the whole thing really smelled. We didn't know what it smelled like, but it smelled. There was something wrong from the beginning here. Everything from the beginning.